I've always had a fond place in my heart for the old Blizzard RTS games. Warcraft 2, Warcraft 3, and Starcraft 2 are some of my favorite games of all time, and I love the campaigns for these games. I've been doing challenge runs and campaigns as long as I can remember, and about 7 years ago, I completed a run I found really interesting. My rule was pretty simple. On Wings of Liberty, I could only build war pigs and the unit that I unlocked on the previous mission. So if I had just beaten the Firebat level and was on the Marauder level, I could only build Firebats and war pigs to beat the Marauder level. I really enjoyed this run because it forced me into really awkward routing, while forcing me to develop some out-of-the-box strategies to beat certain levels. The run 7 years ago was done on hard mode, and when I did it, I also decided to skip the first 3 and the last 3 missions of the campaign, since they didn't fit neatly into the rule. I also wasn't recording for that run. So when I started to watch GiantGrantGames and his absurd challenge runs a while back, I got inspired. I'm going to try and do this run again, except this time I'm going to do it on brutal mode, and I'm going to slightly modify the rules so it can include the beginning and ending of the campaign. After thinking a lot about it, I came up with a new rule set, one that I think should be really fun. Functionally, I'm still using the units I unlocked from the previous level to beat the new level, but if I manage to beat a level with just war pigs and workers, I can save the use of the unit type for a different level. This will actually allow me to start the challenge on level 1, while also allowing the tactical uses of only workers to save up some units for all in. I am allowing myself to use my starting units, and also allowing all buildings and tech upgrades. With this rule set, the levels are pretty variable in difficulty. Some are really easy, while others will be a lot more challenging. Rule set decided, it's time to start on the run. The first level is a non-base level, so I can just beat it normally. The challenge run starts on the Outlaws. Looking at this campaign's structure, I immediately run into a problem. For missions 2, 3, and 4, my only damage-dealing unit is the Marine, and I can only use the Marine on one of these 3 missions. If I use the Marine now, I'm going to have to figure out how to beat the next 2 missions without building Marines. The Outlaws is normally a pretty easy mission, so I try to beat it without any additional Marines first. After a few failed attempts, I come to a strategy that I think gives me the best chance of completing this mission without building Marines. I build up my SCVs, start mining, and put my Marines in the back of the base. Then I build 4 command centers and start pumping out as many SCVs as I can. When an attack wave reaches my base, I take all my SCVs and charge them at the enemies, trying to keep my starting Marines back so they can deal damage without taking any. Every Marine and medic that I start with or rescue is precious in this mission, because SCVs by themselves do not have the DPS necessary to outdamage opposing medics. Unfortunately, I can't turtle up forever, because the attack waves get bigger and more deadly over time, eventually killing my SCVs faster than I can build them. I also need huge force to attack, because I have to get through Hellions, Marines, medics, a bunker, and a siege tank in order to get through the enemy base. I try many times, and on my best attempt I actually managed to break the bunker in front of the enemy base. Unfortunately, doing that costs my entire army. I'm not 100% convinced that this level is impossible building only workers. I think with perfect micro, if you can keep all of your starting and rescued Marines and medics alive, this might be barely doable. However, I do not have good micro, and in the end, I decided that this one was above my skill level. I give in, build a ball of Marines, and head on to the next level. This decision immediately sets up a problem on 0 hour. The only combat unit I can build now is the medic, which doesn't kill enemies. Thankfully, 0 hour is a pretty easy mission that starts you with a bunch of Marines and the ability to build bunkers. So I abandon the low ground position, put all my Marines in bunkers on the high ground, and build up a ton of medics as I wait for the timer to count down. They do eventually get broken, but I'm able to fly some of my buildings away for just long enough for the timer to hit 0. As I finished this mission, a thought occurred to me. I can do better. The medics didn't really do anything on this mission. I can probably get the same results if I build up a bunch of SCVs, and maybe even do better because repair is such a powerful ability. I restart the level to try this new tactic. I set up a nice wall in front of my base, build a ton of SCVs to help repair it, and I get a very similar result. The final wave breaks me, but I'm able to keep my flying buildings alive for long enough to get the win. I've gotten the Hyperion, so now I have a choice between going to Aggrava or Monolith. I go for Aggrava because in my experience, this mission is generally the easier one, and with being able to produce only medics and SCVs in the next mission, I'm going to have a rough time. I managed to get the first convoy through without much issue, but there are some problems here. My entire DPS is 2 Firebats, a couple of AI-controlled Marines, and the gun turrets on the convoy. Sure, my army can remain healthy with a bunch of medics, but it can't kill anything. When the attack waves get bigger and I can't kill them fast enough, the second convoy gets totally destroyed. That didn't work. My next attempt, instead of building medics, I additional command centers to get more SCVs. When the second convoy rolls out, I bring a bunch of SCVs with me, take them off auto repair, and hope they can kill the Zerg while a few medics heal. With this strategy, 7 of the 10 colonists make it to the starport in the second colony. The third convoy goes even better, as I only lose 1 colonist in it. However, there is another problem that's looming over the horizon. The Zerg sent a Mutalisk. I don't have any anti-air, and building a turret outside my base does not seem like a sustainable idea on this mission. So I press forward, build more SCVs, have a massive escort for the 4th convoy, and get ambushed by a massive Zerg army of Banelings and Mutalisks. I actually managed to barely escort the convoy to its destination, saving 9 more colonists, but I had to sacrifice my entire army to do it. I'm also starting to mine out, so I do not have infinite ability to replace my dead SCVs. I send out everyone I have on the 4th convoy just to try it, and I'm completely and utterly overwhelmed. I try a couple more times, using my buildings to try and block the enemy, but there's just no chance. I think this level is impossible right now. There's just way too much to deal with in the last couple waves, and I don't think it's possible to do. I have one more option if I don't want this run to go down as a failure. I go to Monolith instead, and immediately things feel so much better. I begin with 3 Marauders, 3 Marines, and 2 Medics, which means I can actually deal damage to things. Not much damage, but damage. I build up an army of SCVs and Medics, advance slowly with the help of some forward missile turrets, then take everything I have to attack the Protoss base. I barely break the base, but by the time I've done that, the Zerg are rampaging through my main base defenses at home, and have also reached the artifact. I lose. Still, that was close. I lost a couple Marines to an early Zerg attack wave. With their DPS and slightly better play, I think this is doable. I try again, go into the Protoss base with a larger force this time, and manage to awake the ancient artifact guardians before the Zerg reach their objective. I realize I'm failing to intercept the Zerg attack wave, which is killing a bunch of my SCVs at home. So I reset and kill that attack wave before taking everything going. This time, I manage to awaken the guardians before the Zerg, and have more than enough to kill them. As I'm about to win, I realize I forgot to get the last Protoss artifact, so I save, quickly make a detour to the artifact, and still manage to get the mission victory. Not even close. I've gone through the early game, and now things should be a little easier for a while. My reward for beating Monolith is the Marauder, which is an incredible unit that can only breeze past any of the next missions. I also get access to Mercenaries, which means that I can build War Pigs from now on, which can be my anti-air in most of the early game missions. It's actually a little unfortunate I got the Marauder so early because I wanted to hold on to the Marauder for a tougher mission, but sadly this can't be helped. My next choices are Redstone or Aggrava. I choose Aggrava because Firebats are a terrible unit, and I want to get them out of the way early when I still have some of the easier missions left to play. With Marauders and War Pigs on my side, I'm able to quickly beat the evacuation and unlock the Firebat. Then I decide to go to Outbreak, because Firebats are pretty similar to Hellions, which this mission is specifically designed for. Now, Blizzard really tried to make Firebats and Hellions good on this mission. They really did. Every enemy and building in this mission has light armor, which Hellions and Firebats do extra damage to. The enemy swarms with a bunch of low HP enemies which can be hit by the cone attack of these units. These units should be amazing on this mission. Unfortunately, they really aren't. Marines are still way better. I have 135 supply of mostly Firebats at the start of Night 4, and they fall so quickly to the infested Marines. I'm completely overwhelmed, barely escaping with my lifted off command center and 5 SCVs, with 59 infested structures still remaining. However, I'm not dead yet. This map has a bit of cheese to it. The infested don't have any air units, so if you lift up your buildings and fly them over a gap, you can survive the night without getting hit. The daytime is also completely safe, which means that you can actually mine minerals in the upper right base if you save a command center loaded with SCVs. If you have a barracks, you have enough time to train a few units and blow up a couple buildings every day. This method is slow, but if you find yourself in a desperate situation, you can actually beat the mission by just doing this. Normally I wouldn't be willing to try to kill 59 buildings with this method, but when I look at what I have left over, I discover something really weird. I didn't actually have my entire army back in my base during that night, and I still have 34 army supply of units that somehow completely avoided the infested. I guess they were just out partying or something. I used this to burn down another group of infested structures near the top of the map, while mining a bit more and building a couple barracks. I have no idea how these guys managed to survive, but if I could just figure out how I made this army live the night, I think I can still pull this off. The night is 4.5 minutes, and it seems like the infested first target is my buildings. They go destroy a tech lab that I had built the previous day, and keep using it near my buildings the entire night. I think they might just be ignoring my units on the map, but I'm not quite that lucky. 1 minute and 40 seconds into the night, left in the night, they eventually find my army. I kill a few infested before running away, and discover something else pretty interesting. The infested didn't follow the remains of my army, and most of the map is surprisingly empty. I eventually reload because my remaining army is too small to clear effectively, but this gives me an idea. I reload to the beginning of the 4th night, deciding to take my army and completely abandon my base. This time I managed to escape with 60 army supply, which is still an effective clearing force. When the next night comes, I walk my army around in weird directions, hoping to confuse the AI. It mostly works. While the infested do find my army a couple times, I'm able to run away fast enough that I only lose a few units, and I still have a clearing force the next day. By night 6, there are only 14 structures remaining. The next night is harder. My army gets cornered a couple times before I manage to maneuver around the infested with a tiny force intact for the next day. Thankfully, I don't have that much left to clear. What's left of my army manages to clear the Zerg down to 7 structures. The next day, I build 6 fire bats and get the Zerg down to 4 structures. On the 9th day, I can finish the Zerg off and finally get off this planet. And all the colonists are definitely saved. My reward for getting off this planet is the Hellion, a unit that's quite frankly, well, really bad. I can try to go to either Redstone for the Devil's Playground, or go to Tarsonis for the Great Train Robbery. I decide to make an attempt on the Great Train Robbery, thinking this is probably impossible, but theorizing that maybe I can take advantage of the Hellion's speed to keep up with the trains. This is one of the missions I'm most afraid of for this run. In my previous hard mode run, I used Marauders to meet this mission, so I have no idea how I'm going to do it now on Brutal. This mission does give you 6 rescuable Diamondbacks, which helps considerably here. I build up an economy, start mass producing Hellions, and try and pick up as many minerals as possible around the map. I get overwhelmed by the 5th train, but there are some encouraging signs here. I didn't play particularly well, I only found 5 of the 6 missing Diamondbacks, and I probably could have done a better job repairing my vehicles in between trains. My next attempt, I finally remember where the 6th Diamondback is, rescue it, and manage to get past the 5th train. Unfortunately, I have a second problem. I'm mining out. If I didn't go for the expansion, because for some reason I thought that the AI would try to attack it if I took it, which meant that I didn't have enough minerals to keep up the economy I needed to quickly replace my falling Hellions. I then run into a Marauder kill team, and don't have nearly enough to keep up with the faster trains. Looking back on the footage, I think this mission is definitely doable with Hellions. If I had just expanded it early and rushed rescuing the Diamondbacks on the map, I think I might have just had enough to kill these faster trains. However, I eventually give in and abandon mission, deciding to go to Redstone instead. The Devil's Playground is a mission where you have to bank up 8,000 minerals while defending against Zerg attack waves and making sure lava surges don't kill your units on the low ground. There are 2 ways to play this mission. The obvious way is to carefully manage your money, build units that don't cost many minerals, that have just enough to defend your bases, then get off the planet as soon as possible. The other way, which I think is easier, is to completely ignore the objective and kill all Zerg on the map, then mine out everything when you don't need to worry about defenses. Considering Hellions and Warpigs both cost a ton of minerals, I'm going to try the second method. I built up a massive army of Hellions, Warpigs, rescued Reapers, kill off the Zerg, then mine out the map. I get scarily close to mining out the map without banking 8,000 minerals, but there's just enough left, and I beat the mission without much issue. Now I have Reapers, which are a weird unit. They are ridiculously squishy, do a ton of damage to light armor and buildings, and are very fast. I could choose to do either the train mission again, or go to Belshir. Both of these missions are going to be challenging, but I think Reapers have a better shot of robbing trains than they do stealing Terrazine from the Protoss. The Protoss in Welcome to the Jungle have a ton of air units, Colossi, and High Templar, after all, which are all hard counters to the Reaper. The Reaper's speed means that it may be able to keep up with the trains, and the lack of minerals on this mission may actually make the Reaper viable here. I think this will be one of the harder missions of the run, so I get both Reaper upgrades from the armory to make it a bit easier. I have a better route this time, rescuing all 6 Diamondbacks before the second train arrives. However, there's still a problem. Reapers are just so squishy and their speed means that while they get places quickly, that usually just means they're the first to die. I can only produce one of them from barracks at a time, which means that I need a lot of barracks to support my mass Reaper strategy. I do have one ace up my sleeve though. Beating the Devil's Playground gave me 10 Zerg research, which allows me to build planetary fortresses. By building tactical planetary fortresses along the train tracks, I'm able to distract or kill the army guarding the train, then easily focus down the train with the escort out of position. There's one more problem. I'm mining out and can't afford to replace my dead Reapers. My planetary fortresses also get ganged up on by both Marauder kill teams working together, so I have to restart. I try again, then can't catch the fast trains without running into kill teams. In desperation, I try reloading from the checkpoint and expanding, but realize it's way too late in the mission to do that. It takes me too long to figure this out, but I finally realize what I need to do. I need to just restart and actually take the expansion early in this mission. As soon as I make this completely obvious adjustment, the mission feels so much better. I wasted so much time stubbornly trying to ignore it, and now that I'm mining from it, I'm actually able to afford more units. I still need to reset when I run into both Marauder kill teams and an attack wave at the same time, but with some tactical movement and planetary fortresses, I am able to beat this mission. I now have the Diamondback for my next mission, which is a pretty strong all-around unit. Its only downside is that it's expensive. I now have 4 different planets to go to. I can go to the Goliath mission, the Vulture mission, the Viking mission, or the Tank mission. One thing that concerns me is the missions that give you an anti-air unit usually is designed so that the enemy uses a bunch of air units against you. The first time I'm going to go up against one of these levels, I'm not going to be able to build any units that can hit air other than the Warpig. Therefore, my goal is to play all of the anti-ground units levels first, which means that I only need to tackle this type of challenge once in the run, hopefully with the ability to build the tank, which is the strongest campaign unit in the Terran roster. Therefore, I want to get Deadman's Port out of the way now, and I head to it. The goal is to get 6,000 minerals before Colonel Orlan in order to pay Mirahan, so you can use her massive army to defeat Orlan. The Diamondback isn't an incredible fit for this level, it's a bit expensive and doesn't deal amazingly against the mostly light units you encounter in the race for 6,000, but I think it's good enough to get the job done. I build up a small army of Diamondbacks, hunt down Orlan's command centers on the map, and try to soak up as many resources as I can. Things get a little dicey at the end, as I lose my command center and my army has to flee for its life, but I manage to bank up 6,000 minerals just in time and pay her. Then, things are easy from there. I build up more Diamondbacks from Mira's base, then use them with her army to break Orlan and beat the level. Beating Deadman's Port unlocks Vulture, which is a weird unit. It's a fast, anti-light unit with very little HP, which doesn't inspire confidence at first glance. However, it has the Spider Mine ability, which is a fantastic ability that will come in clutch in the next mission. While I have 4 choices again, I decided to go to Zil to play the dig. Normally the dig involves getting a ton of siege tanks and shelling the Protoss forces from afar, but since I can't build siege tanks for this, I need something else that will do the trick. Spamming spider mines at the entrances to my base, then watching the Protoss blow up, sounds like the perfect plan to unlock them. In preparation for this mission, I get the spider mine blast radius and damage upgrades with the armory. I use my initial tanks and marines to defend the first few waves as I build up an economy, then get a massive number of vultures. I set up spider mines at the entrances, build a bunch of turrets for the shuttle waves, and use the drill when I need to. Eventually I expand, get the bonus objectives, then watch the Protoss melt to my spider mines. Things do get a little intense at the end, but I beat the level without too much trouble. On one hand, I've unlocked the tank, the best unit in the Terran arsenal. On the other hand, I'm still a bit scared of this next mission. My options are Belshir, Haven, or Valhalla, and all of them introduce a dedicated anti-air unit that is meant to counter aerial threats on the mission. Tanks can't shoot up. After thinking about it, I decided to go with Belshir, figuring tanks will be the most useful in this one. The mission has you race against the Protoss to seal off Terrazine canisters, which means that you need to move quickly in order to win. The Protoss let you seal off 1 canister for free, but then after that, they send increasingly big attack waves at you whenever you try and seal off any additional canisters. The best way to play this mission, in my opinion, is to ignore sealing off the canisters until I'm ready, then building up defensive positions and sealing off groups of nearby canisters at the same time. Until I can do that, I want to remain active and stop the Protoss from sealing off canisters that are near my base, while letting them seal off the ones that are far away from me. I only need 7 canisters after all, there's no need to try to go for more than that. I immediately have a problem. Tanks are expensive, while Marines and Goliaths are frail. It's going to be hard to push the Protoss early on before I get a ton of tanks, and I need to go fast in this mission in order to prevent the Protoss from sealing off the canisters close to my base. Even if I have enough tanks to destroy the land forces, I need my war pigs and starting Goliaths to stay alive if I'm able to push the flying units. Repairing the Goliaths during fights with a few SCVs helps a bit, but my progress is slow and my war pigs die quickly. I restart after deciding I can't afford to lose any Goliaths early if I'm going to beat this mission. The next try, I repair more aggressively while making some minor micro adjustments, and things go a lot better. The next hurdle is the Protoss base guarding the expansion. To deal with it, I build some forward missile turrets before attacking, and thus my strategy for the rest of the mission is born. If I can get into a defensive position, tanks and missile turrets together can destroy anything the Protoss can throw at me. It's just a matter of getting there before I lose. Things are going reasonably well, but I overextend, try to kill off a group of Protoss with no turret support, then lose all my Goliaths and a bunch of tanks. Eventually my expansion is overwhelmed and I need to restart. I have to reset a couple times before I come up with a better plan. I'm under the assumption that I need to grab the 4 canisters near me, the 2 canisters on the right, and one of the 3 canisters above the expansion. The Protoss are killing me whenever I try to send my tanks above the expansion, so if I could just figure out a way to never need to go there, I'd be set. Before now, I'd always wait to grab the first canister, but I realized that the Tal'Narim doesn't actually mobilize until a couple minutes into the mission, or after you grab your first canister. On a hunch, I tried to grab one of the canisters in the upper right of the map, far away from my base, at the very start of the mission. The SCV starts harvesting the canister, but the Tal'Narim do mobilize before he can finish. However, the Protoss don't notice my SCV harvesting so far away from my base, so they don't send anyone to stop him. I finish the harvest, order my SCV to go back, and he gets killed by the Protoss before he can reach the command center. However, that's completely okay. The Terrazine doesn't actually go away or reset, it just lands exactly where my SCV died. That means I have 7 canisters near my base, 4 on the left side and 3 on the right side, and I can completely ignore every Tal'Narim sealing squad on the top side of the map. I also make one more adjustment. I've been engaging the Protoss sealing squads directly without turrets, when all I need to do is kill the probes sealing the altar. I can sacrifice a couple tanks to do this, easily, so long as I don't put my Goliaths in harm's way. As soon as I kill off the probe, these squadrons will attack my bases next, where I can kill them with missile turrets. I focus a lot more on securing my expansion and move a bit slower. With this strategy, I'm able to collect 3 Terrazine canisters on the right side of the map. After that, I abandon my expansion, set up a ludicrous number of turrets on the left side, and collect the 4 canisters close to my base. I tell my last SCV with Terrazine to wait a bit while my expansion command center and my units go on joyrides to find the last Protoss relics, then I beat the mission and get off the planet. Next up is Haven for Vikings, Tirador for Medvacs, or Valhalla for Wraiths. I decided to go to Valhalla because I figured the Goliaths would be pretty solid on this mission. This mission should be easy, right? I mean, their Goliaths are better than Wraiths at least, right? Right? Oh man, I was so wrong. I struggled on this mission. My Goliaths felt like they were made of wet paper, and the SCVs I sent to repair the Odin dropped like flies. The Odin got destroyed on the second base on my first attempt, and it felt completely impossible. My only recourse was to go to the Hyperion Armory and upgrade the Goliath there. I'm hoping that with the extra range and the ability to attack land and air units at the same time, this will become a lot easier. Thankfully, it does become easier. It turns out that with upgrades, Goliaths go from terrible to actually pretty good. And this mission feels so much better as a result. I secured the Odin and moved on to the next mission. I want to go to Haven next. I've been putting this one off because I have a plan for the Viking, so I wanted it later in the run. I have the option to either purify or protect the colony, and, well, purifying sounds a lot easier. Protecting the colony is on a time limit and is a mission really designed around Vikings, which will make doing it without Vikings somewhat tough. Purifying the colony, meanwhile, is a pretty easy mission for the most part, because going fast to protect the colonies isn't that big of a deal. For me, anyway. Might be for the colonists, but they don't really matter. I do have one problem with this mission, though. Wraiths are so bad. You'd think they'd be at least good in this mission, but they are expensive and barely beat a Mutalisk in a straight-up fight. I try to go fast and kill off the virophages before they can infest the settlements, but that's a losing battle. My front gets broken because I've let off too many units, and I decide to restart. My next attempt, I'm a bit more cautious with my units and make sure to build missile turrets in my base. With this strategy, the level isn't too hard, but it takes forever. 41 minutes and 24 seconds of game time later, the Zerg have been eradicated. 4 of the 5 villages are still alive too. That's not too bad. I hope Ariel is happy about... Oh. Well then. Moving on. I'm very glad to say bye to Race Forever, and I get rewarded with the Vikings, which I take to Tirador for the Mobius Factor. In this mission, I started on an island and have to use medevacs to transport my troops to the mainland in order to kill some data cores before Kerrigan can get to them. Unfortunately, I only have 2 medevacs and I can't get more. The Viking, though, is the perfect unit for this mission, as it can just fly across gaps and land to attack the cores. At least, in theory. One good thing is that with the Protoss research from Haven, I'm able to grab automated refineries. Between the automated refinery and the orbital command, I'm now able to mine out my starting base much faster than I could on previous missions. I kill the first core, then I mine out and build up a massive army of 2-2 Vikings before Kerrigan even reaches the second data core. I take all my Vikings and send them at the data core, and I get completely shredded. I do take out the core, but at a massive cost, with no mining left, I can't remake anything. I have no chance to reach the third data core, and I have to restart. Thinking about it, I decided there are a few problems with my approach. First off, anti-air defenses are everywhere in this mission, so I need to move my Vikings primarily in ground mode. Secondly, because of that, flying units are actually a problem, but that can be solved by abandoning my base and bringing my war pigs with me and my 2 starting medevacs. The third problem is Kerrigan. Because I'm cutting things so close to the time Kerrigan reaches the second data core, she isn't distracted by a core when I'm attacking, and she attacks my units when she is close by. She can kill my entire army in a few seconds if I stand too close, so I need to make sure to avoid her. It takes me a few resets to fully understand what's going on and how to avoid it, but a bit later I manage to snipe the data core and run away from Kerrigan with most of my army intact. Then, I move my army on the ground towards the third objective, take a quick detour to kill the Brutalisk, and then have just enough left to beat the mission. I unlock the medevac, which is a terrible unit for this challenge that I'll probably never want to use. Fortunately, the game gives me a non-base mission right after this, so I have the option to unlock Spectres or Ghosts. Normally I unlock Spectres here, because Tasha's mission is fun, while Nova's mission is not. Today, though, I have big plans for the Ghosts, so I side with Nova and kill off all the Spectres. I only have 2 mission choices now. I can go to Core Hall to unlock Thors, or go to Typhon 11 to unlock Banshees. I choose the Banshee mission and attempt Supernova. I could definitely build up an army of Ghosts to beat this mission. When I looked up the speedrun for this mission, I realized I could do this with just a medevac, which I actually have available to use. Then I thought about it some more. Can I do this mission without creating any units at all? The speedrun uses a medevac on this mission to get SCVs in a back corner, but I don't really care about speed, so why do I need to build the medevac at all? I might want to build a medevac in a future mission after all. I don't know why I'd want to build a medevac in a future mission, but I might as well keep the option open, might as well. Let's sneak a command center behind enemy lines instead. So that was my new mission, beat Supernova without building any units. I spend a little time mining at the start of the mission just to get some repair money, then I had my Banshees escort my buildings throughout the map. With Cloak and good micro, I was able to get my buildings to the edge of the big Protoss base, but had trouble getting my buildings through it. I tried going over the top of the base and tried rushing the buildings in there, which both failed. After a lot of probing, I was able to find a relatively undefended spot in the base to snoop my buildings over. My factory, barracks, and starport all sacrificed themselves in order to get my command center through safely, and I now had a base tucked away right next to the artifact. With careful micro, I set up a few turrets near the artifact and took out the photon cannons near it. I figured I could just cloak my Banshees and shoot the artifact once the cannons nearby were gone, but that didn't work. I think the artifact must be a detector, because the Protoss seemed to be able to shoot at my cloaked Banshees as soon as I got in range of it, even when the cannons nearby were all dead or depowered. After bashing my head against the wall for a while, I just realized my best strategy was just to wait for the fire wave to kill off most of the defenders, then finish off the artifact after that. While I waited, I was able to collect the remaining Protoss artifacts by scanning and dropping mules near them. Then I finished the mission, Ghosts and Medevacs not required. Next up, I want to go to Core Hall and do Media Blitz. That will unlock the Thor, which I want to use for Maw of the Void. I'm on a roll right now, and while I could build up a bunch of Banshees or Ghosts for this, I once again don't think I need to. I get control of the Odin for this mission, and even on Brutal, the Odin is an overpowered behemoth of a unit that can absolutely destroy everything it faces. As long as I keep the Odin alive, I really don't need anything else. There are 3 bases, the light ground unit base, the heavy ground unit base, and the air base. I decided to destroy the heavy ground unit base in the sneak attack, because these units can deal a lot of damage to the Odin, and I just want them gone from the map. Immediately after the sneak attack ends, I repair the Odin up and send it towards the airbase, hoping I can kill that base before it even gets started. The Odin's anti-air capacity isn't amazing, but I managed to take out half the base's starports before I'm forced to retreat back home. I repair up the Odin again, go destroy the light unit base with it, which it absolutely shreds, then regroup with my initial Thor and Warpigs to push the airbase again. With the additional support, I manage to destroy the airbase, and the mission becomes exceedingly simple. Once the bases are destroyed, the enemy Terran doesn't actually attack you unless you start hacking the towers, so I can build up as much as I want at this point. I build a ton of planetary fortresses and missile turrets at each tower, then hack the towers and beat the mission. I only used Warpigs here, so I now have access to Ghosts, Banshees, Thors, and Medevacs. After completing the bonus mission, I realize I have a problem. I am at 24 out of 25 Zerg research, and I only have Protoss research left to find the Terran missions. However, I then realized that I don't actually need to build any units for the first Protoss mission. I was originally avoiding the Protoss missions because I didn't think they fit in the structure, but I actually can legally detour to that to get the Hive Mind emulator. I'm going to need it for All-In. When I'm done with the Protoss mission, I go to Maw of the Void. This mission introduces an energy field that saps the health of all your units when you're inside it. This mission is built for battlecruisers because BCs are bulky enough to actually survive for a while in this field. However, I don't have BCs. I'm going to use Thors here, because while they aren't as good as BCs on this mission, they are one of the only units that can actually survive the field for a meaningful amount of time. I used my first 3 battlecruisers to unlock the expansion. I build some factories in the expansion, and get as many Thors as I can. I don't have any major problems until I fight the mothership that protects the artifact. I micro badly against its black hole a couple times and take a ton of damage to it, getting my entire army wiped out. It forces me to reset multiple times. I can't even retreat to repair at this point because I'm completely out of money, which means that I need to win this fight with my current army. To get around it, I lure the mothership out of the energy field with a couple of Yamatos, and finally manage to kill it. I then recklessly rush the artifact with whatever remains of my army, and barely manage to destroy the vault guarding it. Only Char remains. I need to beat the last 3 levels with Medevacs, Banshees, Battlecruisers, and Ghosts. I'm setting myself up for the air version of All-In, so I decided that I'm going to go Mass Banshee on Gates of Hell, because Banshees don't attack air. The challenging part here is reaching 100 army supply. Banshees are expensive and not supply heavy, and there are a lot of enemy air units on this level. I also don't start with a factory, let alone a starport. I lose a lot of units trying to rescue the second drop, and then from there things get harder. I ignore the third drop completely, other than to drop a mule to gather some resources that happen to be nearby it. I kill the ground units near the 4th drop pod, then run my tanks to my base while broodlords kill the marines that dropped with them. My 5th drop pod is a starport, a medevac, and a raven, so I'm able to drop a mule to rescue it and bring them into my base without engaging the Zerg. I try this strategy with my 6th drop pod too, but without reinforcements, they just die to the Zerg as soon as I rescue them. As the 7th and 8th drop pods come in, I get so close to the 100 army supply without even realizing it, right before everything falls apart. I send my Banshees to help rescue the top side drop pod, while sending a mule to rescue the Vikings in the bottom side drop pod. The moment I rescue the Vikings, my army supply goes up to 99 out of 100, but it quickly falls. The Hellions from the drop dies, some of my Banshees die, and 2 broodlords start attacking my base, broodlords that I do not have an answer to. About 10 seconds later, my army supply is back down to 60, my base is in ruins, and I am nowhere close to starting the second stage of the mission. I am in desperate need of Vespian gas at this point, so I start using scans and mules to pick up random gas deposits on the map. When the last drop pods come in, I go for the one with battlecruisers, hoping that getting a couple BCs can keep me safe against broodlords and mutalisks. I lead the Zerg defenders towards my base, and at that exact moment an attack wave hits, destroying what little remained of my ground defenses. I do manage to rescue the battlecruisers though, and regroup. I have 89 army supply now, but I'm completely out of Vespene gas, and I can't rescue any more drop pods. I decide to abandon my main base and take my army south towards the second geyser. By the time I get there, I'm down to 74 army supply. If I can just reach 100, I think I can rush the Nidus Worms and beat this mission, but I need to get there. I build missile turrets and sit in my little corner of the map for what feels like forever, watching that supply counter slowly tick up as I get more Vespene gas to build the Banshees. My Marines and SCVs are dying, but I'm surviving and my supply is going up. I barely just have enough gas before I run out in this new base. I make it to 100 supply and unlock the end of the mission. I then throw caution to the wind and make a mad dash to kill the Nidus Worms. A forest of spore crawlers and scourges can't shoot down all of my Banshees, so I destroy the worms and beat the level as I watch my army die. I now have a choice to make. Normally, all in ground is a lot easier than all in air. Today though, I don't have the siege tank. In fact, I specifically routed it out so I can build the Ghost, Battlecruiser, and Medevac on the final mission. I also have the Hive Mind emulator. In theory, if I take out the Nidus Worms, I should be able to beat this campaign. There is only one problem with this theory. I have never beaten all-in air before on Brutal. This isn't for lack of trying, it's just the one level in all of Blizzard RTS I've never been able to crack. I've gotten 100% campaign achievements in the game, I've beaten every other level on Brutal, I've beaten every other level in Starcraft, Warcraft 2, and Warcraft 3 in the hardest difficulties too. But there's something about all-in air that I just cannot figure out, and I've never managed to defeat it. I am determined to change this now. Maybe for you, spamming Hive Mind emulators and ghosts on this level isn't fitting to be a final boss of a challenge run. Right now, for me, it absolutely is. I'm terrified, but logically, I know I should be able to do this. I've seen YouTube videos of it being done, at least something very similar. I know the Hive Mind emulator and ghosts are both absurd on this mission. In theory, this should be doable, and I should be able to complete this run. So, I quickly beat the Nidus Worm mission and load up all in. I learned that I have Marines, Medics, Marauders, Tanks, and Battlecruisers given to me at the start of the mission. So I abort the mission and go to the Armory to fully upgrade all of these units. In retrospect, I probably should have done this earlier. Things like concussive shells, stim packs, advanced medic healing, and the tank upgrade would have helped a ton in other missions, because those are pretty common units that you get at the start of missions. I also fully upgrade the Ghost, and spend my last remaining money on the double medevac healing and the anti-air missiles on the battlecruiser. Then I come back to this mission, fully prepared. I produce a ton of ghosts and emulators, and I lose. I try again, make a few adjustments, and lose again. I start from a checkpoint, I'm a bit better with my micro, and lose the third time. I just can't break the 95% mark. There's just way too much Zerg, and I don't know how to beat it. I stop and think about what I'm doing, then watch some YouTube videos of people completing this mission. I realize a couple things. First, the starting bunkers the map gives you are terrible, so I salvage them and set up more easily defendable positions. Secondly, I'm not good enough to use ghosts effectively. Maru could probably destroy this mission with just ghosts, but I cannot. To beat this, I need to spam the heck out of Hive Mind emulators. I build these structures everywhere while building a second command center at the very start of the mission to get my economy sooner. I then spend the mission trying to control every single Mutalisk and Broodlord that flies over my base, then spend my money on building a fleet of SCVs to repair my buildings. Broodlords help take down Kerrigan, and for the first time ever, I managed to even kill the Leviathan on this mission with a bunch of Mutalisks. Eventually, I have 28 Hive Mind emulators, and it feels like it's working. But the Hive Mind emulators are starting to fall, and the air attacks are intense. The artifact charges up, I kill Kerrigan in the last wave with a swarm of never-ending broodlings, and the power level ticks up to 100%. I've finally beaten this mission, the one that has eluded me for 10 years, and I did it legally within this run. I counted 43 Broodlords in the final cutscene. I spent the campaign restricting myself as Terran, only to become the Swarm by the end. With that, my challenge is complete. I hope you enjoyed going through this journey with me. Thank you for watching.